Hey everybody, welcome to School of Scarlet. Today I have a message for you. So I just got back from my little trip to go see some family, and I just have some stories to share with you and a message behind it. So yeah, it's kind of a cooler day, a lazy day out here where I live. I don't know about y'all, but when I get back from even road trips like I did, I just like to rest when I come back. So today I've just kind of been resting, although tomorrow we do have like a little dinner party we're hosting. I'm trying to take it easy today, and I usually wake up really early, like, I don't know, 5 in the morning or so. But today I woke up at 9:30. So I've really been kind of taking it easy. I got my robe on, just kind of checking up on everything. My dogs are out here playing. But anyhow, today I wanted to share with you a message about New Earth. So if y'all have heard the term New Earth, it's become a very popular term. People like Eckhart Tolle have written a book, which I have not read, and many people on YouTube, spiritual leaders, teachers, all of that, they talk about New Earth. Now, I haven't really talked about New Earth, but I want to share with you my perspective about it and kind of some little stories of what happened on my trip. So, the trip that I took to go visit some family, and the family that I went to go visit are a little bit older, you would say. They're in their later 70s, almost 80 years old. And so basically, when we get together, a lot of the times it's a lot of reminiscing, telling us of stories of things that happened in the past. They really enjoy sharing with us their history. So this particular family member that I'm talking about, he's a pastor, and he also was, a rancher for the ranch, the LBJ Ranch in Fredericksburg. So I wanted to kind of share with you a little bit of some of the stories and some of the thoughts that came to my mind when I was visiting with them. So they usually tell me all kinds of weird and interesting stories of the past that I'm very much shocked by, because a lot of what they share just isn't very common today, and it's just very interesting. So they've shared like lots of different stories with me in the past. This last time that I went, I saw, a picture frame of his parents. So this man, he's in the 70s, 80s, or almost 80 years old. And there's a picture frame of his parents, and I think they got married in 1846, it said. And the woman was born in like 1826 or something like that. And so the husband and wife were born around that time. And my daughter was looking at it. She was like, wow, I can't believe, they even have a picture from that time. When were pictures invented? So we looked it up, and, sometime in the early 1800s. And we were like, wow, that was, probably one of the first pictures. And so it was just interesting to kind of think back that times have changed so much in just these two lifetimes, that have been before us. So I was thinking about my own life and just how things have really changed in my life. And a lot of times I talk to my daughter about, how we used to not really be able to take pictures unless we had a camera and we had the film, and we took the picture, and then we would have to take it to go get developed at a photo center, and we'd have to wait, and usually it would be around 20 pictures that we would have, and that's all we would have. And a lot of times they weren't the best pictures. We'd have red eyes in them, we wouldn't be looking at the camera. And so I was kind of sharing with her all of that as well. So a lot has changed even in my lifetime. So I was just thinking about all of this, and it came to me kind of the term New Earth. And a lot of us are thinking that, New Earth is something that we're just transitioning into, that's going to be a whole new world. And I want to share with you my thoughts around this. So my thoughts around New Earth really are that New Earth is just kind of an evolution of our consciousness, an evolution of the development of humanity. And so in the past, we can see that humans were very much more involved in survival. And, maybe we could see that it was a little bit more brutal as well. Survival was a little bit more brutal. And so now we're moving into a consciousness that's a little bit more geared around compassion and awareness, and a little bit more in that sense. So we're not so much stuck in survival. A lot of our needs are met in a lot of different ways. We don't have to go out there and hunt or, do a whole lot of these things like maybe our ancestors had to. So because of that, it really frees us up to be a little bit more in the thinking realm of, our emotions, feeling things, being more aware of how people are feeling, being more intuitive and aware of what we're feeling and the inner voice that we have. So all of that is just a natural progression of what is happening. So you'll be able to see that, that's the case with a lot of human beings right now. It used to be that, someone being intuitive or being, some people would call it psychic, or any of these things were pretty rare. And it was only kind of the mystics or the sages and stuff that had these abilities. But we all have these abilities. It's just that we have to tap into that awareness within us, and a lot of us are able to do that a lot more now because our survival needs are taken care of. So we're able to function at a different level of awareness. So that's what my thoughts are around New Earth. I think that we are just developing in a different way now, and as we develop more in our inner being, our outer reality changes. So as we change, the world changes. So I'd like you to kind of take a look at that around you. And some of us that have already tapped into our innermost being are beginning to sort of live in that 4D, 5D reality, because we don't perceive things in a survival reality anymore. So my uncle was kind of sharing the story about how he remembers, even in the town of Fredericksburg, when he was growing up, that there were still Native Americans there, and they had captured a few boys and a woman, and had decapitated the boys and did something to the woman and captured her. And these were stories that he grew up listening to, and they were the real crimes and things that were occurring in his lifetime. He talks about that there is a cabin nearby where you can still see the arrows where the Native Americans had attacked this cabin. So he was also talking about, these big streets that are now down there, the main streets. There was no street. It was just a dirt road. And he remembers cattle drive, just bringing cattle into town slowly, him and his other family, and how they would do that. So these are things that we can't imagine today. They just don't seem like it's in the same world, right? Or even in the same earth. But you could think that back then, if anyone had this awareness that, the earth or the world was changing, they could perceive it as a new earth. And what's happening here today is the new earth, very vastly different than what was happening 100 or 150 years ago. So a lot has changed. And I imagine that in 100 or 150 years from now, looking forward, the same would have happened. So we are just evolving. That is the ever-changing, infinite nature of our reality, of source, of God, of spirit. It's always changing and showing us more and more of who we are, bringing us closer and closer to more aspects of the divine. So that's what I believe is happening here, as we call it the new earth. I don't believe that people are going to just all of a sudden, from night and day, there's going to be a big drastic change on our earth, or that people are going to be snatched up, or, people are going to pass away, or something drastic is going to happen. These events may happen, in certain areas. Let's say there's a natural disaster or something. But for the whole earth, I don't believe that this is the case. I believe that these changes happen gradually. I believe that they happen as they've always been happening. We can see that, even if we think here in America of the times of slavery to the transition of the civil rights movement and where we are today, it has definitely changed a whole lot. I can't even imagine living or experiencing some of the lives or the events that happened during those times of slavery. Sometimes I'll watch those movies and it's hard to connect with that aspect of humanity, that we were in that state of mind or in that state of being, thinking that those things were okay. And I believe a lot of things will change 100 and 150 years from now. We shall see what happens. But we are coming more into the awareness of our heart and our awareness of our intuition. And so what we thought, people had to develop their intuition, and they thought that that was a special thing, and it was, they had to develop it over, hundreds of years, or, people would sit there and try to uncover these codes and think that there was some kind of magic behind all of this. We have the ability to access it here and now, because we are in another state of being. We're not in survival mode so much anymore. So developing intuition, developing these gifts that we already have within us is actually quite easy. So if you are interested in developing those aspects of yourself, I would encourage you to join my new intuition training. It's a training that I put on that helps you to connect with your intuitive nature, with your inner voice, and begin to trust it, begin to live in that 5D nature, okay? So everything that we call new earth, already here and now, you can live in that state now. So if you're interested in doing that, I have all of the information in my description. There's a link in there, and there's a link in my comments that I'll link down below. So check that out. But this new earth movement is really a very natural progression of our evolution as humanity. And we have some level of personal responsibility in that now. So we are aware that these things are happening. So it's time to be more compassionate, be more empathetic, tap into our heart center, listen to our intuition, because as we evolve and we change those aspects of ourselves, our outer reality, the material physical world, begins to shift as well. So there is a lot of things that are happening here. And some will say, oh, well, a lot of things are happening, but they're not all good. There's still wars, there's still this, there's still that. And yes, that's true, but I want you to think as this evolution, this change in humanity and the earth as a spiral evolution. We're not evolving linear. So there'll be something like a war that'll happen, and we'll have to kind of shift and pay our attention to that. And that'll kind of shift us out of our awareness for a little bit, but only to deepen the awareness afterwards. So hindsight is 2020. We don't understand why these things happen the way that they happen, but when we see them in hindsight, we realize how that event, that war, really was a big catalyst to the changes in evolution and humanity we have now. So, you know, here in the United States, things like the world wars, they really created a huge change in our industrial, revolution here. The technology, the changes that occurred. If it weren't for some of these wars, we really wouldn't have had these advancements how you think. So it's kind of this spiral evolution. We get taken from here, our awareness here, then to there, then to there. And so we're kind of spiraling. But in turn, many things are changing and aligning more to the divine, it's always in the divine nature. You're never out of alignment, and we're never wrong or anything like that. Everything that is happening in divine order. So you can begin to trust that. And when you go into the state of new earth, of the 4D or 5D, as you want to call it, or whatever you want to call it, Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, when you go into this state, you begin to realize that everything that occurs in divine nature. And there's nothing out of place. Even when you think, oh, I was in this car accident, it's horrible, or I have this illness, it's horrible. It should never have happened. I want you to realize that when that happens, it's really bringing balance to other aspects of you. And it's always working in an evolution that, is bringing you to your highest good and your highest self. So nothing happens out of alignment. Nothing is happening out of the perfection of this reality. So just know that right now, everything is happening just as it should, and we are evolving, we are transitioning to many different things. So it was pretty interesting to go visit my family and have these stories with them. I always enjoy listening to the stories of people that are much older than I am. I actually really enjoy listening to older people on YouTube. So that's something I've always enjoyed. Like when I watch cooking channels, I usually always watch like Depression era cooking. I know it's strange, but it's something I've always been drawn to. And so some of the things I watch on YouTube are like that. I also really like to watch older people just kind of talk and share their stories. So people on YouTube such as Granny Pat, is someone that I listen to, and it really is something that I enjoy because it really gives me a good contrast to their times, our times, and it's very interesting how everything is evolving and changing. So I hope that this message found you well. I hope that it opened your eyes to a little bit more about New Earth and how we are transitioning into that. And I don't think that we have to fear anything about New Earth or think that we're going to be left behind. That was a big kind of prophecy that people would talk about, being left behind. we're not going to be left behind. No one will be left behind. Everything is happening in divine order, and people will transition to this new state of being, this new awareness, this new consciousness as they are personally ready, which is why I talk about taking personal responsibility in one's life, because as we begin to change and become more aware and conscious of what we're doing, our reality outside of us begins to change as well, and our whole reality changes. So you could technically be living right now here in New Earth and still be here on Earth with everyone else. It's not a different place. It's not a different time. Time and space and all of that are clearly illusions. It's something that is happening but not happening. So I know that might be hard to grasp, but I want you to know that that is the truth. And as soon as we start changing, the world around us changes. So I hope again that this message found you well. If it did, if it resonated in some way with you, give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, give me a heart, anything like that. It really helps the algorithm to find my channel better and share it with others. So thank you so much again. I will catch you on our next message. I love you all.